Alright, welcome back to another Culz Reviews episode. This week we're checking out Seconds from Disaster, the Pearl Harbor episode. On today, December 7th, 2020, in memory of December 7th, 1941, which was the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Alright, so it was December 7th, 1941 in Hawaii, which at the time was not a United States state yet. It didn't obtain statehood until 1959, so almost about 18 years after the attacks is where the attacks happened.
Yeah, it was just a territory at the time, much like Puerto Rico is today. And so Pearl Harbor was on the island Oahu. And it was early in the morning, they're just kind of switching over shifts and stuff. And, they're just kind of doing their daily grinds, breakfast. The people on, just getting on their shifts were putting up flags and checking the ships, making sure everything looks fine. And that's when at 8 a.m. the planes came in.
Yep, started bombing everything.
So at the time, after after it was all said and done, in reality, over 2,300 American lives were lost. I think in the attack, like another 1,400 were wounded. And at the time, it was the largest casualty in American history in one event.
Yeah, due to an attack. Obviously, it was surpassed on September 11th, 2001. Honestly, you see these pictures all over. The most well-known is the USS Arizona. It's that classic picture. Not classic in a good way, but classic as far as you see it all the time, where, she's tilting over in the harbor, the smoke's going all over. And that's because, obviously, the second wave came in, dropped all the bombs, and pretty much the Arizona just lifted up and then exploded, out of the water, and then just sunk. So there was survivors on the USS Arizona. In fact, there was actually just a procession for a survivor last year. Went down I-25.
Yep. I recall that day.
There's people lining the bridges here. It was kind of cool to see,
Yeah, well, they had the large, I think here in Castle Rock, and they might have in some other cities, had the large fire ladder trucks with the American flag on it. And that was kind of really neat to see in the perspective of just a visual, just to see a very large American flag like that with a procession line the way they had it.
Yeah, we walked over to one of the bridges close to our house and watched, and they had all the motorcycles coming forward. But yeah, obviously, so people survived it, but a lot of people died pretty much right on impact of the bombs when it exploded.
And blew up the whole front of the boat, man.
Yeah, 100 feet of it.
Pretty much disintegrated everybody that was on the front of the boat.
Yeah, that is not a fun thing to think about at all. No, it's pretty terrible to think about. And, you've seen in movies, there's a pretty terrible movie, Matt.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor itself is a terrible movie.
Yeah, Ben Affleck.
He's like the main guy.
He's one of the main guys in the
There's
triangle.
one of those heartthrob guys that all the women go gaga for, but I don't even know his name either, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's Michael Bay just saw
Isn't Dan
Titanic.
Aykroyd in that one too?
Yeah, he is. Dan Aykroyd is in that.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Ghostbuster shadow.
Crystal Head Vodka. Go watch that video, link above. But yeah, it's pretty terrible because they made up a bunch of fictional characters, much like the terrible 1997 Titanic movie. Everybody loves, but I think it's just terrible.
Like I said, they try to give you the history of it, but then they drag it way too much into a love story where it's not a factual event. Then what happened was factual, but the characters were not real.
Well, they could have
they
even
used
taken.
some. Okay, I shouldn't say that.
They could have even
use some. Molly Brown, the captains, the shipmans. They did use some of the well-known names.
But there's so many stories from the Titanic, if we're going to go that way.
And
There's so many stories.
We're talking about Pearl Harbor.
Well, I know, but he said they was talking about Molly Brown.
Oh.
But, Titanic, Pearl Harbor, there's so many stories. If you look at Pearl Harbor, there's even a love story at Pearl Harbor. that they
That
could have
used
used.
from it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, if you want to watch a better Pearl Harbor representation in a movie, I probably would say Midway.
Midway, well, even the old classic Tora.
Tora is probably the best,
Was
obviously.
a really good one too.
Yeah.
What is Tora 20? Is it Tiger?
Tiger, or Attack.
Yeah.
Attack.
And so obviously Tora is the call they gave as they decided to come in and make their final dives, which we learned they kind of fumbled.
Well, yeah, because, and I didn't know about it at this time, and I don't want to say I'm a history buff with Pearl Harbor, but it was the first I heard that the Japanese used flare guns for signaling.
Mhm.
And I guess it was botched because during the documentary they had a Japanese pilot who said that, you know, they missed the first flare, and the first flare was
Well,
assigned to
everyone
go
couldn't see it.
all in, right.
Yeah,
And
so
then
the first one, there was 2 plans. The
plan
first
A,
flare man plan A.
Yeah.
So half the crew saw the plan A, but then they didn't. The others shot plan B flare, and so they all
thought
kind
it
of
was
just
on.
went.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that was bungled, and you know it turned out really terrible for us.
Well, yeah, and then secondly, they were using white flags.
Yeah, that was something. I saw the white flag come out. I was like,
Yeah.
every time I've seen a white flag, it's like,
Yeah, it's
I
always
surrender.
been, especially in the World War II era, white
Mhm.
flag was surrender.
Mhm.
You were giving it up. You were giving up.
I guess if you can't surrender to your own people. I don't know. I mean, that's something. Hey, we're gonna have to look into. If you know more about military stuff, let us know in the comments below. Is that a common practice?
Well, I mean, you got to think it can be. I mean, you're in the air, you're flying through clouds, which are white,
Right.
well, for the most part.
Right.
How are you to see that? I mean, it's a visible color, maybe.
If you can't see the flare, I don't know how you're seeing the flag.
Why not a red flag or like an orange flag? Or
As bad as it worked out for them, it's still, they were pretty successful still. They were successful, but they weren't successful at the
Right.
same time. Why?
Yeah, I mean, so that's something the documentary looks at that we watched, The Seconds from Disaster, is it shows, you know, they felt really successful also when they got back because they attacked all the ships, they got the battleships out. But even for us, not really watching the documentary and going into it, for me at least, I was like, well, we already know they didn't get the aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
And that's really their big mistake. They left enough ships operatable, and that's because the aircraft carriers they missed.
Right. Well, the other thing they said that was missed that would have played a huge intricate, and it was all the oil and gas tankers. Had they just hit a half of those, we would have been way out of luck.
Yep.
So yeah, they, like I said again, you get too cocky and you feel good about something, and it comes back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, so even early on, it showed while they were celebrating Yamamoto, already kind of knew that they had messed up. Because he knew unless they struck like a knockout punch, that the Americans would come back even stronger, having even learned read the Art of War and stuff like that. And he read a lot of Ulysses S. Grant, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he knows that they missed a lot of key points and opportunities.
Yeah, and he knew the just industrial drive, how quickly the Americans could come back. And so right away he kind of saw that blunder, and while everyone else was celebrating, he was just like, oh man, we really messed up there. Because it was kind of like a one shot, and again, there was another bungling of not getting the declaration of war on time, because I guess all the Americans were not there at the time, and so they had to old school type out and decode this declaration of war from the Japanese. So instead of getting it before the attack, they got it after the Arizona was bombed. And so that really, again, made a lot of the Americans say, let's go to war.
They saw it as a sucker punch.
Yeah.
Well, what is sad is, after a major attack like that and a loss of life, 3% of Americans thought the war wasn't necessary to get into war with, Japan. Which, when you look at numbers again, and this whole COVID thing has me now looking at numbers in a bigger picture. 3% of America is still a lot of people that did not want that to happen. It's not like we're talking about 100 or 1,000 or 10,000. We're talking almost close to, millions of Americans did not want us to do that.
Yeah, this is at a time too, you see on the other side of the world, the Nazis are fighting pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
And so, maybe that's kind of persuading them, look how bad it is over there. But yeah, this gets us into the war, which we see quite often as far as the 1900s are concerned. Obviously, World War One, Lusitania was a big, hey, they just bombed this passenger ship,
right,
or torpedoed it, let's go to war. And then later, 9/11 got us into war again. So,
and what is sad is, where we are today in 2020. Again, we are a divided nation. I feel at this time we're more divided than we have ever been. And
definitely in my lifetime, the most divided I've ever felt the country.
Yeah, and stuff like Pearl Harbor and 9/11 have all happened when we've been in this divided nation. That's what's sad is is American people, we need to stick together because we are a force when we are together. When we're divided right now, there's countries probably planning shit right now. Right now they're looking at look at how petty we are. We're arguing with each other over fucking masks.
Yeah.
There's full-on fist fights starting to happen over a mask.
Yeah, I guess it's because, at least for me, I was old enough to really understand 9/11. Much like I'm sure anyone that grew up around Pearl Harbor understood. Because obviously none of us were born when Pearl Harbor, so to kind of try to get us in that mindset of how it looked like, we have to think back to 9/11. And for me, I just remember not knowing what was going on and when the next thing would happen. Because that whole day it felt like something happened here, something happened here, something happened here. And I remember when we were in the Sears Tower, they had actually caught some hijackers that had planned to hit that the day we were in it. And so that's always something that stuck with me. And then like Matt said, today we're arguing over really petty stuff all the time. There's major stuff they're arguing about, but then petty stuff. And it's kind of sad, how far we've fallen.
Yeah, some of the stuff is legit, but we need to be stronger for each other. We need to be there for each other. We are the American people. We are a free nation.
Yeah, we got to work together, and despite our differences, instead of arguing because of our differences.
Right.
Hopefully it doesn't take a tragedy to
Right.
Yeah,
but that's the sad thing is that's what happens. Is something will happen and then all of a sudden, hey, all right, let's all hug this shit out. Let's go kick somebody's ass, and then we're gonna get back at each other. It sounds like my family at Thanksgiving. Let's bitch and fight it out. We'll hug it out. Be good for a while, and then it's war again. What American family is not like that? You get the holidays, you get together, and then you yell at each other.
Politics comes up, and boom.
Politics, or at least in my family, sports teams. We're all along that Midwest where there's family in Chicago, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. So football season is not our season to talk as a family.
I don't know. See, for us, even though if we're gonna go down that path real quick. For us, it's kind of weird because even though, we got Culz fans, Bears fans, Seahawks, Broncos, 49ers, Packers, it's never like we're arguing with each other.
Yeah.
We might put little, bets or
There's a
stuff.
jab.
My uncle and my grandpa, my uncle and my grandpa have a little trophy. They trade back and forth, whoever wins the 49ers, Packers games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you should do it, guys.
Yeah, for real, hockey fans, we all know it. We give each other so much shit, but at the end of the day, we respect each other. We respect each other's teams. Being from Colorado, there's that long-standing rivalry with Detroit, where I had the opportunity, you see it here in Colorado all the time. You go to a game, it's a bloodbath. We do not like the Red Wing fans. We don't like the team. We go to Detroit, it's completely the different story.
Right.
The Red Wings fans down there don't care about the Avalanche team. They don't care about the fan. I mean, you go there, you're ready for like, all right, somebody just say something. We're gonna like have
say
that.
something. Say something.
Nothing. That's kind of like, well, shit.
I think that's just Colorado sports in general.
Oh yeah, no, I've come to see that.
Having gone
For sure.
to like the Cubs games here, the Blackhawks and the Seahawks, I've learned it's much different than going.
Yeah, Colorado fans take this shit serious. Like, and no one takes it more serious than those Bronco fans. Good lord, they are vicious.
Fuck. I don't
Hey,
remember.
buy your John Alloway wine while you're thinking about it.
Go to this really expensive diner.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking.
Speaking of, can you hand me my drink?
Yep. Here it is, right here, sir.
Thank you, brother.
You got his drink. Now available in 2 colors: black beanie or a nice red beanie.
Oh, hey, I'll go with the red.
But don't look for that right away. Maybe 2021.
Right. But all right, like so to tie all this back into Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, get it back. Where were we? We are so lost now.
It's like I said, it took a lot to come together though, and thank God we did, because again we showed that the U.S. is a force to reckon with. You don't come in and you don't do shit like that, because we ain't happy, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's happened all over history, and we're gonna make the comparisons 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, and both times we came together.
And then one of the other interesting things that I learned from watching this documentary, again, first time hearing about it, and for those of you out there viewing that might have some more insight to this, was, you know, the Japanese, before they, you know, boarded their planes that morning, they sent home locks of their hair and their nail clippings, which is kind of a little bizarre. But
I think it's more just like, you know, in case their body doesn't come back, they have something.
I'd be cool with the hair, but I don't know about the nails. That's kind of
right, so
different.
like I mean, just
I mean,
cultural.
is
Is that
something
a
to
cultural
do with
thing? I mean,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I guess it's the
That's-
2 things that you can get rid of most easily without like hurting yourself, unless you're
So,
Van Gogh.
right, cutting your ear off or something.
yeah, but I mean, so yeah, if you out there know something,
Yeah, fill us in.
just like
Yeah.
if it's a traditional, if it's tradition, if it's cultural, if there's a symbolic reason behind it, because just like I said, from my side or stance of it, I don't know about you guys, is that's just a little bizarre, you know. Instead of like, I mean, they did write a note home, but a note home would have been fine with me.
I don't know if
know
it's-
about having your hair and your nails and.
I don't know if it's bizarre, you know, for the time, for sure. Maybe today people will look at it differently. But back, you know, early 1900s, people would do different things.
But your hair, I mean, pick up a hairbrush. There's hair.
Right?
I mean, generally, like I said, aren't you like grossed out about that? You're cleaning the drains at home or something like that out of the sink. You pull out.
Well, that's kind of a
hair,
different
it's like-
story. I mean, there's a bunch of slime stuff going through that hair.
Yeah,
Whatever
but-
came off of your.
But I'm just saying, like in a sense, though, like hair normally grosses people out. You find it on the floor, something like that. It's kind of like, you know, you pick it up with that like ear look and like trash can it goes. Just saying, but again, I don't have that history stamp behind my name. I'm not a historian. Just what is the symbolic reason behind that? Is there?
I don't know.
Is
Like,
it a-
like I said, the hair thing I understand. Like, I mean, my mom kept my hair from my first haircut. I kept Junior's hair from his haircut. I mean, why would you keep
Well,
an umbilical
which was
cord?
bizarre.
You know?
Yeah,
It's like-
people keep umbilical cords.
Yeah.
Interesting. I found out that my mom kept almost every single one of my teeth.
Yeah, me too.
So when I lost them, there was one time when I was older and I was helping her clean something up above the top of the kitchen at our old house, and I was pulling down a mug to wipe down the spot, and I looked in there and there was a bunch of teeth, and I was like, Ma, what's this stuff?
Why do you have a bunch of
And
teeth?
that's where she told me, well, I kept all your teeth, and that's where it's like, wait a minute, you kept my teeth, what? And then, you know, like, stuff starts making sense, so, I don't know, you know. You find
My
stuff
mom had a
out.
little jar that, you know, it was, you know, like one of those novelty
Yeah.
jar thingies
I
from
think
the
my mom had
70s
all-
and stuff that had like, you
Yeah.
know,
But
baby
that's
teeth.
I guess a parent thing, you know, like keeping your first shoe and dipping it in plaster or gold or whatever and having it where.
What do you think? Somebody dies, and at that point, you're kind of just looking for anything to grasp onto to kind of keep them around.
That's why people have a hard time letting go of like pillows or items of clothes, because your scent is still on there, and especially in an event of, I guess, a tragedy, you're taken before you should have, so that there's not that time to say goodbye. There's not that final hug. There's not a lot of stuff. So there might be a reason behind it. I'm just trying to find out maybe a little bit more detail as into what and why.
And perhaps we'll do a follow-up video, just a little minisode, where Matt talks about our findings on
Yeah.
it. We'll do a little bit of research.
Do some Google and maybe
So
one of you can fill us in too.
yeah, I mean, so I guess that's kind of the basis. The episode showed the history, and then it talked about where they messed up. Obviously, hitting at the wrong time, so that the aircraft carriers went there. The declaration of war came in late, and so it was bungled because then America got in war, and we all know what happened in Hiroshima and stuff like that, which is terrible too for their side. I'm not going to say it was great. That is something it would be interesting to learn how they teach Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, no, I definitely, and like I said,
I would
again,
love to see. I anytime I try to read about somebody or a subject, I want to read both sides.
Right.
Going in, we just did the Kennedy stuff, so I read pro-Kennedy, negative Kennedy stuff. I want to get the full picture.
right. And like
So
any videos you see today anymore that get blasted all over social media, it's like, well, what was the other side of the story?
Yeah, I mean,
And
any more social media and stuff, I feel like it's like this little vacuum. It's your little confirmation bubble. So you get sucked into like, okay, this is the one story. And that's why when we try to tell you guys our stories in different videos or different history videos, we kind of just like to tell you the facts and let you guys decide.
Yeah.
We don't want to try to tell you what we think, even though some of our videos maybe perhaps our Kennedy one came off a little strong, how I felt about that. So have any of you guys been to Pearl Harbor, seen any Pearl Harbor memorials or plaques or anything?
I've not been to Pearl Harbor. As much as I would love to go, it's on my list. It's a bucket list type thing.
Yeah, hopefully someday we'll be able to do an actual Pearl Harbor episode at Pearl Harbor.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, yeah, I think it would be really neat to see the history, and maybe it's getting harder every year that goes by, but maybe find somebody that was alive at the time just to
Hear their
story. Because again, like we've said before, when you're involved in such tragedy and a horrific event, it's forever embedded in your head. I mean, you remember the smells, you remember like the taste, what you were eating. And some people don't eat certain foods anymore because
they remember it. Yeah, it's a
right.
bad.
It's like, oh, last time I had that broccoli, something like this happened, and I can't do
Best
it.
friend just got blew up right next to me when I was eating
Yeah.
waffles. I don't eat waffles anymore.
Yeah, I feel like for me,
Seriously?
What? No.
yeah.
No, I was like, well, shit, we've never had that talk.
We've never had this talk. Your best friend, bro?
But yeah,
You
but
bring
there's
some
just
waffles?
there's smells that trigger memories, and I don't know why that is. Where there's but like I said, you only use, what did they say, like 30% of your brain, 35%.
No, I think that's a myth.
Yeah.
It was said originally
it
that
does.
the myth was that you use like 10% of your brain, but
Yeah, I think
they've
it
done
was 2%.
they've done studies, and I think it's a lot more than that. I think it's like 90.
I mean, you
95.
use all of your brain, you just don't use it all at once.
Right, but I mean, just to think that, like I said, that's a part of your memory that you don't normally have access to.
But like something triggers it.
But something
right
triggers
away.
it.
It's
So
still
how
in
many
filing
more
cabinets.
memories, right, are up there that you think you've lost?
Well, it's
and then
like people go
it
to
will
like
take something to trigger it.
hypnosis, I think it is.
Mhm.
Where you go under and then they'll tell all these memories vividly, but they don't know it. But because they've stored it so
Right.
deep down that they've lost it in a way. But under hypnosis, they can talk about it, and that's fascinating.
That might be a good idea next time you lose something. Be like, hey doc,
Doc, can you help
can
me?
you
What was
let?
that one movie with K-Pax?
It's been a while, but yeah.
K-Pat?
K-Pax.
K-Pax?
I think, yeah.
But yeah,
It was like that movie.
again, that's stuff where I know we're getting sidetracked, but it's stuff that all ties in. Is like just finding somebody, talking to them, get to know their experience. Because I mean, on the documentary, they want you know, the stories, the detail. I mean, we want that kind of like maybe weirder side of things.
Right.
So what triggers your memories, or what, you know, like yes, PTSD for a lot of people is out there, but like, how can we help research that, or maybe find ways of, I don't know.
Yeah. And for me, like, I have not been to Pearl Harbor. I know my uncle and my yaya, my late papu went, and they showed me pictures. It looked really cool, you know, obviously you go over the memorial, and it was one of the places that he described as, like, no one talks, it's a really solemn place, you know, like the 9/11, or like the Sand Creek he also brought up, you know. But, you know, it's over the Arizona, and I think they took a submarine too.
Yeah.
At the time, you could take submarines. Hopefully, after COVID, you can still do that.
Well, and then in this newer memorial that they have built, I think it opened within the last 5 or 6 years. Isn't it like literally floating right above the U.S. Arizona where?
Well, that's been there forever.
I thought they opened a new part, or something happened that I thought they.
I think they just renovated it.
Okay, renovated.
Yeah.
That might be because I thought I got a whole new roof and look and.
Yeah, they probably
Something
just
like
like
that.
made it so you can. I mean, I haven't looked into it. It's been something that we've always kind of toyed with. Hawaii's kind of always been more expensive for us to fly
It
to.
still is.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I know last year I almost went because my brother working for Southwest. All of a sudden we knew that there was some tickets coming up for their first flights to Hawaii for like $50. I was like, sign me up, but they went so fast. But no, I've not been to Pearl Harbor. I would like to go there one day. I mean, as a group, I think it'd be fun. We could go there, do an actual video, talk more about the history. Obviously, you'd be researched by then. And I don't know. I know I've been obviously in Arizona. There's a USS Arizona Museum or a memorial in Arizona, and I might have seen it. I'll have to look through my pictures. If I saw it, I know I have a picture, but I don't remember it. Andrew, have you seen it, or do you have any stories? And I know you have a story. Don't go into it too far. We'll tell them why later. But
Well, I've never been to Hawaii before myself, but I would like to visit. I do have, you know, a little bit of history with Pearl Harbor and Midway.
do you want to just tell them briefly about it? Not too much, because we're gonna do an episode on it. But
Yeah, so my grandpa was in Pearl Harbor, and he was in Midway as well. But I think it would be really cool to just visit the site, the docks and stuff that he was on at the time.
the other stories you've heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I know that for me, my great-grandfather down in Canyon City, you know, I heard so many stories, and we went a couple years ago. I mean, I've gone before, but until you're a little bit older, you can realize it. But when you're walking around, I think, yeah,
You know, maybe interesting. Maybe spiritually, you know, going there might be some sort of connection, or you might just get that vibe because something that's passed down.
that would be something. We should take an AVP record, you never know.
Yeah.
You go to that time, you know, there's a lot of energy, you're there, you might trigger something.
Right? My grandpa would hate it if I did that.
We're not ghost hunting. I will not ghost hunt anything like that. People have always said we should go ghost hunting at like the World Trade Center site, Columbine, just like these places. I'm like that. That feels really disrespectful.
Yeah.
And
So,
then,
like-
it comes that fine line of crossing the line. I think that would be.
That's like a
crossing.
cemetery. I would not. I don't think it's
Well,
respectful.
I mean, I think you naturally would have that negative vibe. I mean, I don't see how you could be somewhere like that and not feel the negativity there, because there is that stigma of the energy. The energy's gone, you know. And I think even with the, you know, the what do they call it, the One Trade Center, the one building in New York now,
One World Trade Center, the
One
Freedom
World Trade
Tower.
Center, and Freedom Tower, that there's still that huge loss of life, that negativity there. That, you know, yes, they have these amazing fountains now and stuff like that, but it's never gonna be the same.
I'll tell you, yeah, I mean, the skyline feels weird now. It feels a lot less weird now that more of the, you know, the World Trade Center is built up. Obviously in 2006 and stuff, when we were there in 2008, it was just like, wow. Like, Lord,
It's just
Manhattan
awesome,
looks
right?
weird. Yeah, it was just a big hole in the ground still. And today, like walking around the waterfalls and stuff, much like in Oklahoma City, it's actually really calming. And so I don't get that really negative. I mean, if you had a connection, you would. But when you go down below into the museum, oh, it's like the most depressing thing. And I didn't do the museum in Oklahoma City for that reason. I was just like, I don't know if I can. At some point we will.
Yeah.
Go to Pearl Harbor, we'll do any museum, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, that one we would have to. I mean, we're out there, so we spent the money.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Hawaii is a little bit harder to get to. Yeah, maybe one day when we make more money, we can do all this a lot more often. So where Andrew was touching on, yeah, next year we do plan on doing more of a video about that story because I found it really fascinating, and I think given a year we can make a really nice video to honor him. And it's a whole kind of little series we want to do next year, talk about some of our family history. We all have some really interesting stories, and so yeah, on December 7th next year we'll release that one. So you can look forward to that. At least we have one video confirmed. So
Shoot, this time.
yeah, 1 year from now. Alright, so once again, with these documentaries, it's really hard to kind of rate. And this was probably the most documentary type of one that we've watched so far. They did have a little bit of acting, but no like voices or something, just people going through the motions and stuff like that. So Matt, would you recommend it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think anything to help you build your knowledge on history. Obviously, with the National Geographic one, they're going to be more accurate because their reputation is on the line. I'm good with it like that, so I liked it. Again, it's a documentary. It's based off of helping you learn more, maybe stuff you didn't know. Like I found out with the flares, the flag, the nails, the hair.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a few things in there I did not know about.
Yeah, I would. I'd concur and agree with him. I would say, yeah, I'd recommend it. It might not be like the highest rated documentary I think we've watched so far, but at least as you know, if you're looking to get into that field, it's a stepping stone. It kind of gives you the basics, and at least you know, kind of like what I enjoyed with Midway was it told both sides of the stories. You know, Midway didn't demonize either side,
Right.
and so I thought it was neat to have that opposite side. I always like seeing that, so I'd recommend it. Like Matt said, it came from Nat Geo, who, you know, gives good information on like maybe like a Discovery Channel with their fake Megalodon documentary that I can call out again, and Dinosaur Hunters. I won't watch that. So what about you, Andrew?
I think it was pretty good. I mean, it's a subject that, you know, has a lot of history on it, and we know a lot of history about it. I mean, to me, a documentary is a documentary when it comes to something like this. I mean, it's pretty hard to get facts wrong.
I mean, it's very easy to turn facts.
It is. I suppose it is. easy to
Curve
turn-
the opinion.
For sure. For sure.
Well, that's going to happen anywhere. Too.
Exactly.
Curving an opinion.
Which is weird because you've seen some of our documentaries you had to go to BBC to get good documentaries on like Billy the Kid or, you know, Tombstone. So it's been nice. Our last 2 months have been Nat Geo, so.
Yeah. I mean, it was nice to hear from one of the Japanese pilots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think that was the first time I've heard from an actual
pilot.
survivor from the Japanese side of it.
Yeah, and
I
actually.
mean, you've heard from Japanese historians, but to actually see a pilot that was like, no, we did this.
They took a picture of that guy with his old like cameras. Yeah, I mean, so it's always neat and definitely probably one of the first documentaries I've seen where, like Matt said, it gave you the other side. So that probably does it for this episode, and probably one of our last filmed episodes in 2020. We do have a couple more planned. We have one next week, and then 2 episodes we're going to film, but some of those I don't think are coming out till 2021, so man, this is kind of weird. This year's gone by really fast.
Really quick, and it's crazy.
It feels like nothing's happened either. Like we've been stuck. I mean, we've done a lot of traveling, got some cool stuff filmed, but
It's one of the most bizarre years
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, feels like
of humankind right now.
Feels like it went by
At least
really
for us.
fast and really slow at the same time.
fast and slow. We did some stuff, but we didn't do what we wanted. So hopefully, here's to hoping 2021 when we see you guys then that it's
Post-COVID and
post-COVID.
post-apocalypse.
Yeah. But yeah. But until 2021, you know, like I said, we do have a couple more episodes coming out last few weeks of this year. If you want to see more of Culz reviews, please click the link right up here. If you want to see more from us here at Just Culz Paranormal, click the link right up here. And don't forget to
Like and
subscribe. And don't forget to click on that notification bell. Sam's not here to tell you the special things that happen, but by clicking it from from personal to all, you'll get notified on all of our newest stuff. So if you're liking what you see, make sure you hit that notification bell.
Yeah, and like we said, we do got lots coming up in the future, and we do hope to get back to doing some more actual episodes. It's hard during the holiday seasons, obviously, but try to still give you guys some content.
Yeah, we're hopefully going to show you a real life Sasquatch next year.
Yes!
Sasquatch hunting with the Sasquatch Outpost 2021. Let's do it.
Make me a believer, guys.
We will one of these days.